Hey, it's Chef Evelyn here, and I wanted to do this video to kind of just do like a check-in and an update. So I know that I haven't been sharing a lot of videos on this channel so far this year. I recently went live on Instagram to talk about like why I hadn't really been posting a whole lot. And then also like if you're on my email list, you probably like, I don't think I've heard from you probably since January of this year. And it's because I have done some major reflecting and you probably could feel the change like coming. So basically this is like my video to let you know like I'm starting over, right? And I'm returning to my first love. So I don't know if you guys follow Gourmet Grad School on Instagram, but I went live a couple of days ago to kind of just talk about like what's happening with Gourmet Grad School, what's happening with me, Chef Evelyn, and all the kind of things. And, I won't do a 45-minute video here the way I did a 45-minute live with them, right? But basically, I have been talking about culinary entrepreneurship on this channel since 2016. Before that, it was a food focused channel. But if you go back, I started making videos about like your chef business in 2016. It's now 2024, right? And I love it. And most of those videos have been targeted around high-end culinary brands. And at this point, I feel like I've said everything that I have to say. But I will say this, one of the things that I didn't plan on was me not cooking. Like for those of you who have come into this journey, you may not know a little bit of my backstory. I was an engineer first. I was a chemical and environmental engineer and did that for several years and then went to culinary school and transitioned into being a chef. And I don't think that when I played the movie, I thought that I would get to a point where I wasn't cooking in some capacity anymore. But life and, taking advice from different people kind of led me to this path where ultimately in 2021, I believe, or 2022, I gave up cooking classes, which was my favorite thing to do. Some people want a restaurant and they love that life and they love the fast pace and the intensity and all that. Some people love personal chefing or they love dinner parties, right? And they love the creativity that comes with that. Some people are phenomenal and in love with catering, right? Some people, want to have a bakery and they're in love with that. But for me, when I found cooking classes, I was like, oh, this is the sweet spot for me, right? Because I got to be in food, I got to be hands-on, but I got to share that aspect with people versus being in a more what I consider back of the house kind of business, right? And I started in cooking classes in 2009 and had my first online cooking class in 2010 and then went on to, run award-winning cooking schools for companies and, be a resident chef at Sur La Top, not once, but twice at different locations, running a cooking school, revamping it, doing my own online courses, classes, memberships, doing corporate things or whatever. And I miss it. I do miss it. And part of me wants to get back to that. And then also part of me, thinks back to there was a part of my journey that before I really started talking about high-end culinary brands, I was teaching other chefs how to do cooking classes because to me, you can be successful in any of those other genres, catering, restaurant, personal chef, private chef, dinner parties, bakery. You can be successful in all of that. Food blogger, right? And we've seen people be enormously successful in those areas. And I love that for them. And even though I tried all of those things, I dabbled at food blogging for a nanosecond and was like, that's not for me. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the people who do it, right? But catering wasn't for me and personal chefing wasn't for me. And I definitely didn't want a restaurant or brick and mortar and all that kind of stuff in that way. And I knew that there were other people like me. And so I remember I used to have a course teaching people how to do cooking classes. And I stopped doing that at the advice of some people. And I just kind of was like, no, that's what I know best. I've spent, 15 years in cooking classes in every format, in person, online, classes, courses, memberships, in people's homes, corporate cooking classes, television demos, doing cooking content for other companies. Like, I know cooking classes, and I miss that, and I miss sharing that with other chefs who are like, yeah, that's also my lane, and giving them the tools and the tips. And so I'm basically starting over. And I've talked about transitioning gourmet grad school before, and I knew that I didn't want to talk about high-end culinary brands anymore. And I kind of was unsure what to do with that. So I've done a couple of things, which is one, I've made the Chef's Table experience a on-demand course now. Right before, it was a 5-figure coaching program, and I've made it an on-demand course, right? So all of my previous courses, like the High-End Culinary Brand Intensive, all of that is all on demand now. So, and at a much more accessible level, like a lot of people couldn't afford, the multiple 5-figure investment that the Chef's Table was, or is, right? Or let me say this, in its current form, where it's still a coaching program, that's just not in some people's budget. And so all the content is there. It's just minus like the coaching and the community and all that kind of stuff or whatever, but all the content is there. And I say, like, I'm not going to throw that away. I will have that up for a certain amount of time, so that if people want to avail themselves to that, they can do that. But I'm getting back to cooking classes, both me personally, right? Like returning to Chef Evelyn, and then also really wanting to assist other chefs and culinary entrepreneurs, chefs, bakers, chocolate makers, all the things, who they want to either continue their journey in cooking classes or begin a journey in cooking classes, because it's my favorite thing. It's the thing that I do best. It's the thing that I love most. It's the thing that I know the most about. It's the thing that I have, 100,000 hours in, if you will. So, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I've already been creating some stuff behind the scenes, even for my own personal brand. Like I brought my podcast back. So if you look on this channel, one, you'll see like the banner has changed, because I'm transitioning this channel back to food. Like, there's obviously going to be a transition period, but like the banner and the header has changed, and the description of my channel has changed back to being a food focused channel. And I've attached my food focused podcast to this, because while I am going to be sharing some videos over this month about like if you want to start your cooking class business, ultimately it's just because I want to give you a chance to avail yourself to that. But I am moving everything to everything chef business related. I'm moving that to another channel, and this channel is going back to what it was originally intended to be, which was my food channel. So I've already got, I've already bought my food focused podcast back, which is Eat Out at Home. That's the name of my podcast that I had years ago, and like stopped doing that, whatever, just drifted away from my first love or whatever. But also, I'm so excited because I also have already started working on things for, the culinary entrepreneurs who want to have their own cooking class business. I've created a cooking class toolkit already. I'll leave that in the description of this video. And it basically has like the waiver that you need for classes, for adults and children. It has like a class planner in it, which is like, how do you break down classes and systematize them so that when you run it again, like you already know the run of show, you already know like what you need, you already know like your estimated food costs, all that kind of stuff. And then like also like just a copy of the kind of surveys that I used to do that, ask some really important information, right? So I've already created that in the background, and like it felt so good to do that, right? And then also I've even already created a Build Your Cooking Class Business Boot Camp. I'm so excited about that. Like, oh my gosh. Like I was like, you know what? It almost doesn't matter if like people want it or not. I want that resource available for the chef, for the person who comes along and is like, I've always wanted to do cooking classes. I don't know where to start. Or, maybe people have been reaching out for you to do cooking classes and you've been doing them here or there. And you're like, no, I kind of want to take this seriously. or you're like, no, I really want to make this a thing, and I just want to make sure, I've all my ducks in a row and I've dotted my I's and crossed the T's, whatever. So I'll leave links to all that below. But this video isn't really about that. I'll come back and share more about those things. And yeah, I'm super excited, y'all. I'm super excited to kind of start fresh, start over. And it's taken me 2 years. I had the thought to come back to cooking classes in April of 2022. It is now June of 2024. So a little over 2 years. And I kept saying, I'm going to get to it. And, ultimately I just ended up burning myself out because that season had come to an end, and I loved that season. I loved the clients that I got through that season. I loved the content that I created through that season. I've gotten messages from so many people about how like all of these videos have really, changed the way they view their business and all that. And I am so grateful that I've had, any hand in helping anybody in their culinary entrepreneurship journey. But I really was thinking about, like, in this season of my life, where do I want to land? Where do I want to like sink my teeth in? Where do I want to like plant my feet in and live there for a while? And it's the thing that I've always loved, and I've always known that, because with cooking classes, I could work outside the home if I wanted to. I could work from home. I could make money online if I wanted to. I could make money in person if I wanted to. I can scale it as a team of one if I wanted to, or I could hire people and scale it. Like, I don't have to create the same menu all the time, or I can run the same menus all the time if I want to, right? I can create content around it if I want to, if I enjoy that, or I could not. Like, it was really the one revenue stream that I was like, I can flex all my creative muscles in this one thing. Like, and, I didn't have to have a brick and mortar establishment to do it. I didn't have to have, all of this expensive catering equipment, right? Or, like, I even think about food blogging, and I know some amazing food bloggers who are doing so well, right? But for me, I was like, man, I didn't want to have to, fight SEO and the algorithm and pump out, tons and tons and tons of free content, hoping that people would click on the ads, hoping that a brand will reach out. Like, I really, I'm the person, like, I want to be in charge of my own, financial destiny, right? And so cooking classes allow me to do that. And so I'm excited to bring my own cooking classes back. Man, I'm excited to start teaching again. It's my favorite thing. And it's so interesting because when I talked about this on my personal Instagram account, the number of messages that I got from people like, oh, I miss your cooking classes. I miss your cooking content. I'm excited for you to come back. I'm looking forward to it, all that kind of stuff. Like, it really just like warmed my heart and made me even more excited. So listen, even if cooking classes is not your thing, we've got one life, and like, I'm not trying to be super deep, but like, do the thing that you love, not the thing that you're like, oh, I've been doing this so long, I should stick with it. Because I think that's where I was with high-end culinary brands. Like, I was like, man, I've been doing this so long, like, I should really stick with this. And I was like, girl, you gave it 8 years. Like, I'm gonna leave the videos there. They're not going anywhere anytime soon, right? So if people come across it, hopefully, it'll be of value to them. But I just love cooking classes. I love teaching cooking classes. I love training chefs on how to do cooking classes. Like, not even from an entrepreneurial standpoint, but when I was running cooking schools and I had to teach chefs who came out of restaurants, corporate, bakeries, whatever the case may be. And when I had to teach them how to become an instructor, because just because you can cook doesn't mean you can teach. It's a completely different ballgame, right? I miss that. I miss the kind of clientele that I had with cooking classes, whether it was like an older couple and it was like, this was their favorite form of date night. Or, I remember having, someone when I was doing like in-person cooking classes, running a cooking school, where he was on the autism spectrum, but he was a little further up the autism spectrum. He was like 24, 25 years old, and his mom, would bring him, and he only could come on one night a week. On the same night, he only felt comfortable with one or two particular instructors. And I remember, kind of taking pride in like, okay, I'm going to make sure we have a different class for him every time that he comes, and I'm going to try my best to schedule the chef instructors or whatever. And I remember, his mom pulling me to the side and thanking me, because she was like, this is one of the few things that he can do, and that he felt comfortable and all that. Or, I think about the people that I've had in classes who, lost a spouse and never learned how to cook, or the people who, I remember there was a woman in one of my classes, and she was like, no, I'm really here to learn, because I handed her a potato and a potato peeler, and she didn't even know how to hold the potato peeler. She was like, I'm a grown woman and I don't know how to cook at all and feed myself. Or the people that were there just because they love food. Like, there were so many other things when it came to like catering or personal chefing where I really felt like back of the house, and I didn't get to like entertain or engage the way I wanted to, which is, for me, one of the main reasons why I got into food, was to bring people together over food and to connect. And when I was doing catering, when I was doing personal chefing, even when I was like my brief stint as a food blogger, even when I was doing dinner parties, like maybe dinner parties more so than anything, but with cooking classes, there was that dialogue there. That was showing somebody something that they could go and take back to their family, and people coming back and were like, oh, I made this for this occasion and all that, and my family loved it, and I'm excited to try new things, and bringing people back to the table, like all of that is just like right up my street. So anyway, this video is long enough. You've heard me ramble long enough, but yeah, I'm excited to be starting over and returning to my first love, which is cooking classes. So like I said, I'll be leaving links to all the things that I mentioned about like the Chef's Table and all of my other previous programs being on demand, if that's something that is of interest to you. Or if you're like, I'm also team cooking classes and you want to be on that journey, then I've got resources available for that too. And if you want to follow along and see me rebirth my own personal brand under Chef Evelyn, feel free to stay here. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. But like I said, I'll probably be doing like probably this month, I'll be doing more videos on this channel around cooking classes, but then I'll be transitioning everything to my new channels exclusively about cooking class and cooking class business. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you if you've been here 1 second or if you've been here several years. Thank you for watching the videos and engaging. And I'm excited for this new chapter. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.